Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 056 of the WA Running Podcast. Our kids are asleep. This is our third take in recording on a Monday night, the 25th of November. A good episode we have in store for you tonight as we recap an eclectic mix of events over the weekend, including the Strive program on Friday night, the UWA Big Six Invitational on Saturday, the Grampians Peak Trail event in regional Victoria with some WA runners doing us proud. And finally, we get to chat to Vici Richardson, the winner of the Women's Sandman 50 last weekend. Across the screen from me is my co-host who is committed to paying phase photography $25 at every marathon club race, Chris the Metronome Shaw. How are you, mate?
I'm very well, Simon. I thought I enjoyed that intro quite a lot, but clearly you enjoy it more than I do.
Yep. So we accidentally clicked the warp intro into a infinite loop. So it took us a couple of goes to get it sorted. So hopefully this recording goes well. Third time lucky. How's your week been?
Good. Yeah. Had a reasonably productive week running, but been at Rottnest the past couple of days. So yeah, nice little break, get away for Maddie's birthday, and back to reality today.
Yeah. So how's your training week in this past week?
Interesting. I think one of the key takeaways from my training week this week was another toilet story of all things. You know, I don't think many people will believe it after all of the, interaction we had with listeners during last week's episode. Look, I'll get to it. But Monday was a rest day for me. Had some new shoes to try out actually this week. Had a pair of the Leaning Fedian Challenger 4s, which for $110 from Running Warehouse are a pretty good little bargain. I'm not going to lie. A few people commenting on my Strava as to how much like Jack Crago I can be, but I think they're a great little shoe, and I'll look forward to using them tomorrow morning probably. So that Monday rest. Tuesday was an 8x800 at Bibra Lake. Nice session. It's good to be back at Bibra Lake. I kind of had a bit of a break from there, doing most of my running locally, but it's a nice kind of flat, shady spot, especially now that it's getting hot. It's going to be good. And Wednesday ended up doing 90 minutes around my usual Mount Henry loop, which is a bit longer than I would typically do, but this week, knowing that I was going to Rottnest on the weekend, had intended to keep the mileage up, but so ended up throwing things around a little bit. And this is where being self-coached is handy, because you can just do what the fuck you want sometimes.
Yep.
90 minutes on Wednesday. Thursday, I had hill reps. Haven't been a while since I've hit the hills, and went up to Wireless Hill and did my usual 10 by 60 seconds with 90 seconds off, and then 10 by 30 seconds with 60 seconds off. So though that session actually was quite good in that since Sydney Marathon, I haven't felt like I feel like my fitness has stagnated or just has, everything's just always felt hard. And that session actually, even though it was still tough, I recall the splits that I was doing last time I did that session pre-Sydney, and I'm showing progress in that. So I think my legs are stronger. It's just, I think there's just the general fatigue on actually running those hard 5K reps on a Tuesday are, that's the thing I need to get over a little bit. And anyway, Friday was my long run this week, so not ideal throwing, 2 sessions and 2 long runs in 4 days. But Tina would be very upset with you if you did that, Simon. But did a 2-hour session, 2-hour long run on Friday, and this is where I had my public toilet encounter. So
do tell.
I did my Mount Henry loop effectively, but then extended it out to Point Walter, and if anyone knows Point Walter, I was heading down a long Burke Drive toward Point Walter, and then as you enter the car park, there's a public toilet on the left-hand side, which is open 24 hours, and so It's got showers in there, it's got toilets, and usually down there there's people in like camper vans who were traveling, like, you know, traveling the country or the state. And I could hear a music and singing coming from inside the shower. So, inside of the toilet. And I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. But, you know, whatever, I'll just go in there. And so I walked in. The first thing I saw was an ass. And
oh my gosh,
just a guy standing there completely naked, singing in a language I didn't recognize. And he did completely ignored me. He knew I was there. I walked past him and proceeded to do a wee. Yep. And then he just started laughing maniacally, and that's when I had to leave because I was worried about what might happen next. But yeah, look, that was a shock. I'm not going to lie. But I couldn't believe it after everything that had happened in the last few days on the Warp Strava group and on Instagram. You know, to have another encounter just seemed like too good of a timing. But I'll be back to that public toilet, that's for sure.
Yeah. So you're coming back for more?
Yeah, round two. Yeah. So anyway, so Friday, that was Friday, and then Saturday we went to Rottnest for Maddie's birthday. So took it. I spent most of the day just by the pool and by the beach and just taking it easy, and then went for a little hour run before dinner, which was just awfully windy and just. I've never done Rottnest Marathon, but those rolling hills really do suck the life out of your legs. And I think the first 6Ks of that run, I was doing, 6-minute Ks, right? So I just felt like my energy, I just had nothing there. But then obviously I turned the corner and had the wind in my back, and suddenly it felt like my legs came back to life. So ended up running quite smoothly toward the end, and ran it out an hour and roughly 12 and a half Ks or something. And then Sunday was a quick little 30 minutes, just a little recovery run, I guess, again in the afternoon after a day of drinking and laying by the beach.
Sounds good. So how many Ks for the week?
95 Ks this week, so a little bit up from last week. Planning to keep going with that because I've had this goal since the start of the year to run 5,000 Ks this year. And I thought I was going to absolutely shit it in, going toward the end of the year. But I think there's been a few times throughout the year where I've had to miss a week or two. And then in recent weeks, I've had some bad weeks. So I've ended up having to chase a little bit. So I was planning to do 90K weeks roughly anyway, but now I need to do about 93 or 94 Ks a week to make that mark. So, for the next 4 or 5 weeks. So we'll get there. Just going to need to manage it in terms of these races that I'm planning to do. I've got Applecross next Sunday. And I'm supposed to be pacing our friend Lan for a sub-18 on the following Saturday. So, and then we've got the beaches, the City Beach Founders Cup on the Sunday. So, a bit going on the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and in the last episode, you were talking about racing a couple of mates for Applecross in the 3K. So, what's the game plan leading into the 3K? Are you going to go quick and blow them away, or are you going to rely on the Chris Shaw kick at the end to finish them off?
Well, it is a funny course. I think because you have to go over that hill at around the corner. I've forgotten the name of it. According to the Applecross there's a big hill that goes up to the top. You have to go over that twice, basically. So, and that's in your middle K. So, even if you go out quickly, that hill could probably hurt you in the middle one. So I don't know. Take it easy not easy, but take it reasonable on the first probably, and then maybe attack the downhill on the way out, and see how we go. But yeah, look, it'll be interesting to see. I've seen a couple of people run 3K 3K track meets during the week, and around similar fitness to me, who are running a lot quicker on a 3K or 3,000 meter track meet than I think I can run. So. Maybe I just need to be a little bit more aggressive or a bit more confident and just have a crack,
It's also hard to DNF on a 3K course as well, right? So
yeah, I could just keep running and just run home. So
yeah, that's it. I'll cover my week.
Yes, please.
So, a solid week, albeit work and life has been quite busy in general. So,
Mm,
feeling quite tired recording on a Monday night. But my week started on Monday. I have a recovery run on a Monday, and I run up and down the coast with Rach Nathan. Where I completely blanked Tina on the way back. So
no way.
did a double take on Tina and just stared at this blonde woman for like 3 seconds and then went, nah, that can't be Tina and kept running only to realize it was her. So I've already lost some brownie points there to start my week off.
Big time.
Yeah, Tuesday was my VO2 session. So that's a staple 12 by 1 minute at VO2 effort with a 1 minute jog now. Um,
Yeah.
Very moist morning on a
Mm.
Tuesday. I was sweating very badly for that session and it absolutely cooked me, I think, halfway through the session.
Yeah.
Rest day was Wednesday. And then moving on to Thursday, which was a tempo session with Matt Smirelli down at Lake Munga, 3 by 12 minutes roughly at 4 minute pace.
Mm.
Saw the front runner group, different coach this time. I think it was Josh Ty, corrected the form as usual,
Yeah.
as a classic loop around that side of Munga. Josh did not pay attention, but that's
No.
okay. I did try that another 3 times and still no look my way. But that was a good session there to get back to a tempo effort compared to that hard
Mm.
alternating K workout we did the week before.
Mm-hmm.
Friday was a 40-minute easy effort jog near home. I was working from home, which was good. And then Saturday was a big morning for me. So Saturday is usually the 4 by 4 minute interval session. But I had promised our mate Will that I would pace him to a sub 20-minute parkrun attempt at Yokine Parkrun that morning. So hoping to do my workout, I slowed down those intervals to a threshold effort,
Okay.
and the workout itself was a 4 by 5 minutes. So
Mm.
that was on average a 3:45 minute per k pace in those interval efforts, and I got the timing wrong. So once I finished that fourth rep, I went straight into the park run effort
Oh
with
no.
Will. And surprisingly, that ended up being quite good. It was a comfortable 4 minute efforts
Mm.
with Will, so he managed to get his sub 20 effort. So congrats, Will. I think he got that done in 1951. But after that, I was absolutely cooked. I had 2 birthday parties, a 4-year-old birthday, and I think a 3-year-old birthday back to back. By the afternoon, had a nap at 3:30 and slept
Mm.
for a good hour there. So a good family nap there. That took us to Saturday evening. And then Sunday morning, pretty cooked from the Saturday workout in the morning. So ended up just cutting it short at 80 minutes. I tried a dodgy looking endurance boost gel that our mate David had brought over from Taiwan
Yeah.
that I posted on the socials. Ripped the packet open, and it was this weird jelly consistency that came out of the packet. And did a quick calculation as to how many Ks it was to the nearest public toilet, which was Neil Hawkins Park. Happy to report that a toilet stop was not required.
Perfect.
Unfortunately, the boost gel did not send me to a 3 minute following K. So, not too
Yeah.
sure on whether it works or not, but I'm glad that I didn't have to do a shit stop mid run. But yeah, so that took me to 78 Ks for the week, which is quite solid for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of roughly where I'm heading on a week to week basis, 70 to 80 Ks. I did break the news to Tina this week that that I would be running Transcend, and she did reply, "You do realize that that's 6 weeks after Gold Coast." So, and I thought, "Yep, that's the plan." And she replies instantly, So what other crazy things have you got planned for 2025? So I said nothing planned after Transcend, although after chatting to Vicky this week, we might throw our hats in the ring into Sandman next year. So you never know, right? But yeah, that's my week. It's been quite good considering how busy life has been this week. And
Mm.
my next race is the Founders Cup on the 8th of December in the 4K. So we'll see how the 5K fitness is like for that
Mhm.
race on Sunday. And I guess looking ahead, it's really another 5K attempt. So hopefully an attempt sometime in January.
Yeah, cool. I mean, how did that, going back to that Saturday workout, doing, I guess, the 20 minutes at threshold and then 20 minutes at tempo effectively,
Mm.
that felt, I mean, obviously the tempo workouts and the VO2s are paying dividends because, that sub 20 was quite comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, I was quite nervous heading into it on whether or not I would be able to pace that consistently. And
Mm,
um, yeah, we were sort of hitting 357s for most of the Ks, and
mm,
very comfortable, which is probably a reflection on a lot of those 3 workouts that I've been doing for the last 9 to 10 weeks now.
mm,
Doing that combination of VO2, tempo, and the intervals on Saturday is somewhere in between.
mm.
I'm starting to feel comfortable running at that 4-minute effort,
Yeah.
which is awesome to see. So I didn't think that 12 months ago or 12 months later, that 4-minute efforts would feel
Mm.
comfortably hard for me.
True.
So it's been good to see. And yeah, on the way up really. So I'm looking forward to what my 5K attempt would be in roughly a month's time. So it'll be, awesome to see.
Have you got something lined up after the City Beach?
I'm waiting for Aths West to announce that 5,000 meter community run,
Okay.
which is on the 18th of Jan. So if that is announced, that would be my next effort.
Mm-hmm.
But nothing planned in between then. So I'm heading to Japan with the family over the Christmas break, which I might still try and keep some level of consistency, albeit maybe not with a Tina plan.
Mm.
But I'll still maintain a level of doing VO2 on Tuesday, tempo on a Thursday, and some sort of interval on a Saturday, just to keep me going over the holiday period in Japan. So that'll be the goal. And then if I can hit a sub 18 in January, then it will just be building up again. So no concrete plans just yet, but no surprises for Tina just yet. I'll find
Yeah.
out when the new year comes around and what sort of surprises I have in store for her. So yeah,
Awesome.
no, that's our training week. So looking like we've gone into a good routine now, and the pressures of the podcast hasn't got to us after 3 weeks. So we'll see what happens over the coming weeks over the Christmas break. All right, so we'll cover some of the results over the weekend, and we'll start with the Strive event on Friday. So we had program D scheduled. And looking at some of the results over the 2 main distances, it was great to see some road runners from the WA running community giving track a go this summer. So we'll
Mm,
start with the 800 meters. And in the men's, it was good to see 41 runners across 4 heats running in the 800 meters. Winning the top section was Tom Cross, who won it in 152, just ahead of Adam Kopp in 152, 85. So bit of a kick there by Tom Cross, it looks at the end there. And looking at the men's heats across the 4 races, it was good to see the likes of Henry Morley, Chris Gould, and Matt Jones racing, particularly Matt Jones, who we see very often in the various Marathon Club races. Good to see him giving track a go this summer, and it'd be interesting to
mm.
see the types of races he signs up, as well as the times that he'll be able to pull off in the various track races he signs up for during the summer. In the women's, we had 36 runners across the 4 heats, with Kyra Pilmer winning it in 2:11.72 ahead of Anna Colgan. Also great to see Charlotte Pickering doing a bit of track this summer and running a quick 2:31.95. We had the 3,000 meters, which you want to cover, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely. So we had the women's and the men's, actually. In the women's, we had Angie Ross bossing the Youngbloods in a time of 10 minutes, 8 seconds, 0.82, ahead of Mia Waters in 10:15.18. So, Simon, you've made note of Angie's age there, so I'm sure she'll appreciate that. But that's very quick running for sure. And yeah, something for me to aim at, I guess, next week. But in the men's, we had Dante Armstrong winning it in 8:41.67, ahead of Oliver Stamford McDonald in a time of 8:46.40, so relatively close there. Look, to be honest, definitely getting a bit of FOMO with all the track going on at the minute. You've mentioned that the 5,000 meter race in the 18th of January, and maybe I think Carlos had and Nick Redapali had asked us if we wanted to join Canning District's athletics club a little while ago, and look, maybe next summer's the time to do that and jump on the track and have a bit of fun, because you being able to race like as frequently as you do over that kind of summer season does give you a bit of teaches you a little bit of resolve and obviously teaches you to run well in the evening when most of these races are. So, yeah, looking forward to maybe getting into that a bit more next year. But obviously, plenty more track to come over the next couple of months. The other thing we had on, speaking of track, was the Big Six Invitational, hosted by UWA Athletics and the Little Athletics Club. That was on Saturday, 23rd of November. It was an elimination mile. So effectively what that means is, there's obviously a mile. It's 4 laps of 400 metres. That was down at McGilvray. So every lap, the last competitor is eliminated and they continue. So it's obviously set up in a way that means you have to race quite aggressively and stay in the pack and stay attached. Otherwise, you get dropped and you basically get pulled out of the race. So looks like Rams Running had a pretty successful evening there, with Rebekah Newton taking out the women's race in 4 minutes 57.10 and Max Shervington in the men's with 4 minutes 13.98. So very, very fast times.
And it was great to see, looking at the socials, they paired it with the Christmas night markets, with some food stalls and some night market stalls as well. So it looked like a good spectacle there, with people crowding around the tracks. So it looked like a really good atmosphere there, which was great to see. I wish Aths West would do something similar for the night and 2 and 5, because I think that's what we were hoping to get earlier this year, and there were no food trucks or any entertainment. But hopefully, I mean, it seems like the Big Six Invitational has been around for a while, but it'd be great to see that translate to some of the Strive events or the upcoming night of the 2 and 5,000 meters, because you see Zatopek in the eastern states where it's become this on track nights and it's this festival experience, and it'd be great to see something similar over here in WA as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, and having that almost a festival atmosphere where you've got music and you've got food and alcohol, if that's what you want, to be able to make it more of a party for sure. Like that would be great. And I like last year when we went, or earlier this year we went to the State 5,000. We were kind of lining the track and watching the A race, and that was great. But having all of that stuff, that infrastructure around it too, it does add to the atmosphere for sure, and encourages people to bring their friends down and their families, and just makes more of a night of it, I guess.
Definitely. We'll move on to another event we were made aware of over the weekend, which was the Grampians Peak Trail. So the Grampians Peak Trail is in its second year running and covers the rocky trails of the Grampians Peak Trail in regional Victoria. Rough conditions, so not only the rocky terrain, but it was 37 degrees for a lot of those days over the weekend. Normally a 13-day hike last year, the team relay cut that down to 23 hours and 50, with Michael Dunstan doing it solo in 24 hours and 1 minute, and Kelly Angel doing it in 28 hours, 18 minutes in the women's. So that was last year. We had a couple of WA runners compete and fly over. So we had Shane Johnstone, friend of the show, rocking the Vegemite Legionnaires hat and wearing all white. So he did the 100 miler. Looked like he was doing really well. He was top 10 for a bit, and then pushed the pace a bit overnight and was as high as fourth, but did not finish in the end. So after 116 Ks, pulled the pin on it. But then after that, and shortly after, the event was cancelled just simply due to the extreme conditions. Looking at Shane's recap on Strava, he said that his feet was completely smashed from the rocky terrain, and pushing the pace overnight perhaps costed him the race there. We also had Kate Timmons get through 88 Ks and was in 80th position overall before the event was cancelled. She wrote in her Strava recap that she's developed a form of trauma from all the boulders, rocks, and more rocks from the event. So looks like a bit of rocky terrain that we're not quite accustomed to here in Perth. Some of the other distances and events, we had Bryce Turvey doing WA Proud, coming second in the 50K event in 5 hours, 19 minutes and 53 seconds, just 16 minutes behind the eventual winner, Brodie Nankervis. And finally, we had Ariarn Huston winning the women's stage race in a time of 17 hours and 2 minutes across the 4 stages. Congrats, Ariarn, for doing WA Proud there. So brutal conditions. We've got a mate that lives in Victoria, and just seeing that forecast of mid to high 30s over the course of the weekend, which then finished the weekend with Sunday just absolutely bucketing down with rain, which is classic Melbourne weather.
Yeah, very unseasonal weather for Victoria. But I'm sure that ours is yet to come.
Yeah, definitely. All right, shall we move to some of the other events planned in the calendar?
Yeah, so I guess we've been through these a few times, but we've got the Applecross Shoreline coming up this Sunday, 1st of December. We've got the Perth Trail Series, the Perth Trail Summer Series. Stay Puffs is also same day, Yanchep National Park. We've got the 6-inch trail marathon coming up on the 15th of December. So they have their trail marathon is 46 kilometres, and the 3-inch, which is a 23K half marathon, I guess, is been around for a long time, a big attraction for a lot of Perth road runners, because it's relatively easy to run on good terrain, and I think most people wear road shoes for that race. That runs along the Munda Trail from North Dandle up to Dwellingup. There's still tickets available for that, so if anyone's interested, I'd jump on that soon so that we can so you can get a ticket. But last year we had Michael Carroll winning it in 3 hours 32 minutes and 59 seconds, and Lauren French winning it in 4 hours and 12 seconds. The 3-inch Dale Zabiella won in 1 hour 33 minutes 51 seconds, and Jess Reynolds in 1 hour 55 seconds. So look, I think Michael may have won that a couple of times if I remember correctly, but that's one I've been told to do by a lot of people who run trail and would love to, but it's just not going to happen this year, just with everything else that's going on at the moment. But as we always say, maybe next year.
Maybe next year.
Yeah.
Shall we move to the our upcoming community run, mate?
Yes. So Community Run 002. We spoke about that on our first episode back in, was it 053, I guess? Look, it's happening this Friday. So that's Friday 29th of November. We're meeting at Cooljack Island. Simon and I will be there with Vlad nice and early at 5 o'clock. Vlad Ixel from Bix, that is. And we'll get started at 5:30. So if everyone can get there nice and early, bring some water because it looks like it's going to be a stinker. We're going to do 3 laps of Cool Jack Island in honour of the king and queen of Cool Jack, that being Matt Maguire and Jane Claxton. So you can do as many laps as you like. You don't have to do all 3, but we'll do that and hopefully have a good chat with everybody and get a bit of feedback. And everyone can tell us how poorly we're doing the last 4 weeks.
To our face.
Yeah, not on the Warp Strava group. That'd be good.
All right. So looking forward to seeing everyone there on Friday. So we'll post on our socials this week as well. And if you could RSVP through the Strava event that we've got set up there, that will just help us with some numbers and allows us to suss out, the samples that Vlad will be bringing over to Cool Jack Island. So it would be great to see you all there. So this week I was fortunate enough to catch up with last week's Sandman 50 women's winner, Vici Richardson. I was fortunate to meet her a couple of months back at the Wolves charity run, and we had a great yarn about Sandman 50, her preparation, but also her running origin story. She opens up about her personal struggles at the end of 2020 and how her relationship with running has since changed, which I think listeners will enjoy. So here's my chat with Vici. So I guess today is someone that's done it all. So she's done triathlons, running across all the distances, which includes Hurdies earlier this year where she ran 21 laps, coming third in the women's race. I had the pleasure of meeting her earlier this year at the Wolves Run Club charity run, where we ended up running a casual 4 hours together with the team at Leighton Beach. The winner of the women's Sandman 50 last weekend. Thanks for joining us, Vici Richardson. How are you?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me, Simon.
No, all good. So you had an epic run last weekend, coming 4th overall and first female over the line, coming in at a time of 4 hours and 31 minutes. How's the recovery been?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. It's pretty novel to finish a race at 6:30 in the morning. So I had a very nice leisurely dip at Dunsborough boat ramp straight after the finish, and then I was down there with a decent sized crew from Perth Tri Club. A few of us doing it as solos and a few teams as well. So we had a nice, very long, leisurely breakfast, and then just kind of chilled out around Dunsborough. Woke up on Sunday morning. I had a little bit of a tight Achilles, but I jumped in the car and drove home early and got to the recovery lab and did a sauna and ice bath and spent a bit of time in the compression boots, and that seemed to sort me out. So just been easy running this week, and then had to be good for Thursday morning because I run with the crew at Yellow on a Thursday morning, and it was my turn to buy the coffees because the deal is if you podium, you buy the coffees. So I needed to be good for that. So yeah.
So recovery's been good.
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, I've had a bit of a knee niggle for a little while, which I'm managing. It's perhaps kind of feeling a little bit worse than it was before the race, but nothing that a bit of kind of downtime will solve.
Yeah, excellent. So it would be great for you to recap the race and how it unfolded. Looking at your Strava, it looked like the Ks were quite consistent for the most part. So what was the game plan coming into the race, and how did it all unfold?
Yeah, so I kind of set out with a couple of goals. The first one was to do it and finish it being injury free, and running on sand and a bit of a camber. I was slightly concerned about the knee. Had a really good chat with Tina, who's my coach, in the few weeks leading up, and we kind of figured out a pace that would be fairly comfortable, that was around about 5:20s. And I probably went a little bit quicker than that because I fell into a pace that was comfortable, as you do. So yeah, the race obviously starts at 2 a.m. under moonlight, which is awesome, and it was really nice, like 9 degrees. So it was a great sort of temperature, and I'd had about 4 hours sleep, so that was good. I found like the race is a really low key event. It's a great, really like unique event. So they do it on the lowest tide, full moon, and so the day changes each year. So the start, it was really still, it was really calm. 10 minutes from the house we were staying in, so we just rocked up 20 minutes to go, and just kind of got there, head torches on, and off we went. And it went pretty well. As I said, the first half was great. There was, it's like there's another head torch behind you. The moon is just so bright. So that was pretty awesome. There was starfish, which I don't think I've ever seen a starfish. So many starfish on the beach. And the sand was pretty firm. So it is, like, I know it sounds pretty hard running on sand, but it actually was quite solid. I wore road shoes, which were good, and they drained well. Felt really comfortable. So I got to the halfway mark in about 2 hours 10-ish, I think. And I had loads of fluids with me. I had loads of gels with me, and I didn't have my first gel till 18 Ks because I was worried about running the night and my stomach. And so that's probably a bit of a daft move, but it was what it was. And then when you turn around, you get the moon set, which again, like, when do you get to see the moon set? So that was incredible. I got to about 40K, and I was keeping fairly consistent pace still. But as the tide goes out, and it goes out quite a long way down there, I realised I was running on wetter sand. So I was having to sort of shift my running line up onto the harder sand a bit and kind of switch my where I was running, just to kind of make sure that I wasn't running on too stodgy a ground. And then I started to drop pace probably with about 8Ks to go, and then it started to get a bit hard. But I just kind of kept smiling and kept, enjoying it. I was like, yeah, I get to do this. It's great. It's awesome. Yeah, I got to towards the end, felt like I'd run a bit further than 50Ks. I think it ended up being 50.7. And there's a bit of water and stuff along the way, so you're kind of getting wet feet. But felt pretty good. And then there's about 300 meters of rocks at the end of the finish line. So that was hard. Like, after running on flat ground for so long, suddenly having to pick your feet up over rocks was pretty tough. So I stumbled a bit, and that's very normal for me because I'm known to be somebody who's very clumsy when running and like fall over a lot. But yeah, so I was really happy when I got to the finish, and I was 4:31, as you said, and then he said you're first female, so that was a great outcome. I kind of just thought I just want to enjoy it. I have done the relay before down there a few years ago. So I did the 25K going up to Busselton, but it was pretty special coming back and just seeing the moon. So it was good fun.
Also, so did you know you were out front being the first female, or was it because, with the team relays, it was quite confusing to know where you were at the time and you kind of just stuck to your own race that way?
Yeah, I didn't know. There were a couple of girls that I knew were in front of me, and I didn't know whether they were solo runners or team runners. So I knew there were two, and I thought, so I'm somewhere in the top three potentially. But yeah, I didn't know. So it was nice for Andrew, the race director down there, when I got to the finish line, he told me, and that was when I found out. So yeah, that was very exciting. Never won a race in my life.
and here you are on a podcast now.
I've made it.
Yeah, no, you've made it now. You've made it. So how did you prepare for Sandman? I guess you've done the team relay before, so you knew what it was going to be like to a certain extent. But what was the preparation like in the lead up to Sandman?
So I'd been running fairly decent volume for me. So that would be sort of anything between 80 and 100 Ks a week for probably, a good couple of months. I did Perth Marathon as a training run back in October, which was just an absolute blast. I've never enjoyed a marathon so much in my life. Went off like an easy pace for me, and just kind of went out with the goal of just seeing how the knee went with the distance. I'd obviously done the Wolves charity run as well a couple of months ago, which was just another time on feet type run. But Tina's given me plenty of volume, and and I've kind of handled it fairly well. I think I've been quite surprised with how I've gone, and I've got to the point where I've been able to string a few weeks together running every day and not feeling any ill effects from that. So just trying to prioritize the strength training as well, and the recovery and the sleep and all that good stuff. So yeah.
It's been good. And we were talking before we started recording about, how you had that niggle post Herdies. So were you able to manage that niggle throughout the training block in the lead up?
Yeah. So I came out of Herdies in March with a bad knee, a bit of ITB syndrome, and it's been fairly manageable. I must admit, I haven't been as good with my strength training in the last couple of months as I was being. I was being very dedicated to that, and I've let it go a little bit. Just time, work, busy life, and running feels easier to do than to go to the gym. But I have felt that it's been manageable. I think it's definitely been there more. That feeling has been there more in the last week since I did Sandman. But I'm not concerned because I think I've got back from this before. So it's a win not to be injured. It's a win to be able to carry on with a nice easy training week and be out in the weather and just enjoying it.
So one of the the cool things about Chris and I taking on the podcast on is being able to hear about people's running stories and their origin stories and how they got into running. What was your origin story? How did you get into running, and how has your relationship with running changed over the years?
So I obviously grew up in the UK with a really great running scene, but I really wasn't a runner growing up at school. I was not the sporty kid. I was probably sent a note to PE more times than I did PE at school. My dad was a big runner, and he was one of the founding members of a local running club. And I just wasn't interested at all. But then I got to about 19, 20 and started going to the gym. And then I found myself running on the treadmill at the gym. And so I was like, I'm spending money on something that I could be doing outside for free or for lower cost. So I joined by this point, my dad had moved away, but I joined his old run club and became a fairly active member. I joined the committee. I started organising the cross country team and that sort of stuff, and did, as you said at the beginning, like just loads of races, all varying distances, a couple of 24-hour races. And the running scene in the UK is just amazing, really clubby, but really inclusive, and built up a good network of friends that did it. But I was never the talented runner. I was always the kind of, I love this and I'm very enthusiastic, which is what makes it enjoyable. But I'm not going to be winning anything anytime soon. And then I started dabbling in triathlon. Wasn't particularly good at that either. Just thought, give it a go. And then I moved to Perth in 2015 and I carried on with triathlon, joined Perth Tri Club. And I did an Ironman in 2019. That ended my triathlon career because it was...
Oh, wow. What happened?
It was just a big mental load. I think training for three sports is tough, and hats off to the guys that continue to do that year after year, because I just think it's a massive effort. So I went back to running in 2020, and just that was kind of my happy place again. I was like, this is more me. And then in 2020, end of 2020, I had a pretty good running year that year. Got quite a few PBs. But then my partner and I decided that we wanted to start a family. So we ended up having to do fertility treatment. And my specialist told me to stop running. And that was all about really just spending your energy on the things that you're wanting and making sure we're putting everything into the IVF. So we did that, and it was pretty tough, as you can imagine. Just the kind of the the mental health side of it is hard. It's isolating. And so I think I spent about a year having a phantom plantar fasciitis injury. And then I got to the point where I was like, I probably need to be a bit more honest about this now with people. People are going to start thinking this plantar fasciitis is going on a really long time. So yeah, I just was like, I can't run. I can't string weeks together. And I felt like I was just not really a version of myself that I was particularly happy with. So I started coaching a bit, just to stay connected to the community, because I obviously was kind of becoming a bit disconnected because of not being able to run. And I think for anyone who's on the bench for a long time, it's hard to go out, go and meet people for coffee afterwards when they're on a high from the run, and you're like, that's difficult. So then I got to 2023, and we got to a point where we were fatigued from the journey. We were at the point where we were just not willing to put any more of ourselves into it, and so we decided to stop going down that route. And that was sad, but it also meant that I could get back to running. So I think that's made me incredibly grateful to be able to run. I think that when you have something taken away from you that you really love and that gives you a lot, I think you realise how much it means. So yeah, I've been watching for those 3 years. I've been going down and watching Hurdies every year and watching the backyard ultra scene take off. And so I was like, right, okay, I'm going to start running again, and I'm going to train for Hurdies. And as you do, just after having zero base whatsoever for 3 years. So I started in about September 23, built my way back up to 100 Ks a week by January, built my way to Hurdies. I had to set myself a program, which was probably it was too quick a build, and started to pick up niggles because my body just wasn't conditioned. But then I did Hurdies, absolutely loved the event, loved the crew, loved the atmosphere, just the camaraderie, met lots of people, reconnected with people, and yeah, just kind of
fell in love again.
Yeah, I did, and I think, as I said, it's about, I think that my body felt like it let me down a bit, but with running, it kind of gives me a lot. I put a lot in, and I feel like it gives me a lot back, and it gives me a lot of everything. So it's, with like many people, we've all got busy jobs, busy lives. Helps me manage my stress levels. It's kind of a bit of a free therapy for me, and just gets the endorphins pumping. I love the connection from it as well. So yeah. So that was it really. I did Hurdies, got injured, built myself back up again, and then on Sandman.
So I've got a mate who, after watching the satellite champs not too long ago, went, I could do Hurdies and I could run for at least 24 hours. What would you say to that individual in terms of training and how hard training could be through to the event and the buzz and the vibe of a Hurdies?
I think one of the things that I found was that I'm pretty happy running on my own. Like, I like listening to podcasts, I like my music, but I did find a really good crew to train with, and I think that helped a lot. So there were 4 of us, girls, like a couple of us that hadn't done it before, and a few that had, and were a bit, they'd kind of got a bit more experience. The experience they could share was great. So I think jump in with a crew for sure and see if you can, make some friends along the way. Train as you want to race it or, run it. So think about, the pacing is important, to make sure that you're getting that, you're actually training for the pace that you want to run rather than just smashing yourself. I probably got that a little bit wrong. And I think what I love about an event like Hurdies or the Backyard Ultra concept, or any ultra actually, you just learn so much, and it's such a good opportunity to learn things and then to put them into practice the next time. I think I had a goal of 24 hours too, and obviously missed it. And I think that's something that the guys that have been doing it a long time say you don't really want to have a goal, because you're potentially limiting yourself by that goal as well. So yeah, there's a lot of things that for me went wrong, but reflecting on it, if they hadn't gone wrong, I wouldn't have learned anything, and so I won't be able to make it better the next time.
Yeah, and are you going to do the Hurdies or an ultra again?
I am, yeah. So Hurdies is my next big race. I don't know that I'll carry on with them after that. I think kind of the main goal for Hurdies will be enjoy it as much as I enjoyed it last year. As I was saying to you before we started recording, I loved the start line every lap. I just loved getting to that point and having the cheers from the crowd, seeing my crew, having the music going, and then we had we had sing along laps where we just kind of on our walk breaks we'd put a song on our phone and just sing along to it, and that was a bit tiring. But when we got to sort of lap 17, 18, but yeah, I think my main goal is to just keep running, to be able to keep running, enjoy running as much as I do at the moment, and keep having the connections and building the connections with people.
And you said before that, you run with the yellow crew and, it's your mates through Perth Tri Club and so forth. Is that what sort of keeps you going? And it perhaps is the main motivator of continuing sort of the running journey? It's less about the races itself, but it's the camaraderie and the friends and the relationships that you've built along the way.
That is a big part of it, definitely. I think that events are much more fun when you've got people to enjoy them with. So yeah, as I said, there was about 20 of us down in Dunsborough doing Sandman, and just the stories that you can share afterwards, and that, the bonding through adversity that you get. And there's nothing like being able to run alongside somebody for a long run, into howling wind and rain, and you kind of come out of that better friends than you started, for sure, because you've been through it together. So yeah, it's a big part of it, but I would say I'm also very goal driven. So I do need goals, and so I'll keep setting myself goals. That really, times are great, running times are great, but I'm never going to be the best runner. What I may be is one of the happiest runners.
So you've got Hurdies plans for next year. What about after that? What's next for you in 2025?
Well, I was going to do Gold Coast, but then the Wolves peer pressured me into Bibra Lake, so now I'm doing Bibra Lake. So yeah, from Gold Coast to Bibra Lake, which I think I've done before. I think I've definitely done the half there. It's close to home. I want to have a crack at a PB, so I think it's a good one to do that on. So hopefully that will go well. And then after that, haven't got any firm plans yet. Got a couple of team events I'll do. Ultra Perth I'll do with a friend as a pair. And then, yeah, we'll see what happens after that. But just keep enjoying it, mainly.
So are you doing the marathon then, or are you going to do a half?
Yeah, I'll do the marathon. Yeah. So I set my marathon PB in 2020 and took a big chunk of time off, paced by Kat Watt, who's just an incredibly metronomic runner. So I'll see if I can do it on my own. I'm not sure how that'll go, but yeah, I think that just the idea of having that support from a crew is pretty attractive to me. So rather than going to Gold Coast and maybe being not really knowing that many people that are watching. So yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on, Vicky. All the best for your running journey, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
No problem. Thanks for having me, Simon.
Thank you to Vicky for taking the time to chat with me early this week. We actually ended up chatting for over an hour, which was a shame that I didn't press record earlier. But what I really appreciated about that interview was her openness and her honesty with her personal struggles, and how running gave her that something in her life and acted like a bit of a coping mechanism for her in her times of sadness there. In our first episode together, Chris, we talked about how running first and foremost has been great for our mental health. And for me personally, running now is is very much therapy for me, particularly those easy runs throughout the week. Vicky's openness to share a story reminded me of my own journey in trying to have kids, and the dark hole, Linda and I sort of dug ourselves in at the time. And that whole idea of suffering in silence was something that really resonated with me, not being able to share the heartbreak and the burden that Linda and I were experiencing. So, look, Linda and I are fortunate to have a 4-year-old, but I just wanted to say thank you, Vicky, for sharing her story and putting herself out there, and hopefully the story provides comfort to those that are going through a similar experience. And the idea of suffering in silence, is something that is still real today, and there's still that stigma behind having children or trying to have children and being unsuccessful. So that was something that I really appreciated in my chat with Vicky.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, unfortunately, I couldn't be there, but having listened to the interview, it's incredibly generous of her time and her honesty. So can't thank Vicky enough. But hopefully, the listeners can take something from that. And being the month of November, obviously, it's a lot of people are aware of mental health and things like that going on in terms of the other activities that are going on. So whether it's your whatever your denomination, effectively, everybody should be talking to their friends, their family about the things that they're going through in order to be able to cope with them. And it's important, because often people insulate these things into their life, into their inside of themselves, and sometimes it doesn't always work out very well. So if anybody's listening and you're going through something at the moment, please reach out to somebody. And if you've got friends around you and you've got people who you have not heard from in a little while that you haven't thought about, maybe checking on them and just see how they're going, because it's very important.
Shall we talk about the Transcend bet?
We should. So we've actually got a WhatsApp group with the former hosts of this podcast. Would you believe it? So until now, we've been corresponding via letter and fax and MySpace accounts, but we're finally, in a WhatsApp group with everyone. So, look, everybody's keen. We're just trying to sort out who's up for what leg. We're going to give Sinead whatever leg she wants, because she's our star, and we want her to perform at her absolute best. So the rest of us can make do, and it seems like the crap team are quite keen. I think we mentioned a potential beer mile last week. So we'll look forward to seeing what the details of that are. But we'll get our tickets this week, Simon. We're going to do it. We'll pull our finger out, and if anybody else is out there willing to challenge Team Warp or Team Crap, by all means. If there's a Lex Cook running team group of guys that want to jump on, maybe it's the head chef and the apprentice chef and all of the sous chefs that they've got, by all means, jump on to transcendtrails.com and sign up. Let's have a go.
Sounds good. And then once we're all signed up, it'll be good to talk to Hayden and Shannon around what the stakes are and what sort of training we're planning on doing or not do. So they did ask over the week whether or not they'd want to join in on a run with Shane Johnstone, and I think I'll respond on behalf of both of us by saying, get your own Shane Johnstone, and maybe Coach Macca can take you guys on a run. So Shane's ours, mate. So figure out your own training regimes, please. Shall we move to the Warp admin and the weapons of Warp, which looked like it caused a bit of stir this week?
Yeah, there was a few missiles flying around this week, but I hope nobody was offended by last week's comments about the no shirts. Look, I think it was quite an interesting debate and quite funny. I think there was a few people jumping in there who were like Big Kev, for example. He made a good point about who he takes his bare-chested photos for, and I'm all for it. I mean, I'm as guilty as anyone for running without my shirt on. And even when I have got a shirt on, somehow my nipples always find a way into a face photography photo. So, I'm very supportive of anybody willing to if you've as I think it was, can't remember the gentleman's name that commented first, but he did say, if you've built it, flaunt it. So by all means, please do. We're willing to see it. I haven't seen enough shirtless photos this week, and maybe it just hasn't been warm enough, but yeah, hopefully next week's a bit more profitable.
Maybe at the community run.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it looked like this week we saw Hayden McGregor from Crap as well as Zane Walsh run on Saturday morning, running 60 moustache-shaped laps around Hartfield Park in Forestfield, and 60 being that important figure, being the 60 men who die by suicide globally every hour. So it was good to see Haydo and Zane do a couple of laps there on Saturday morning, along with some of the double members and some of the members of Hayden's communities. So it was great to see. It looked like donations are still open for both Hayden and Zane's Mo space. So do encourage everyone to provide a donation if you can, going to a great cause of Movember. So I do have on our run sheet the need to call out head chef Carlos Aquino, who is currently holidaying in the motherland of the Philippines for some rest and recuperation. He did speak to me at Frio Running Festival that he was hoping to turn off all his social media and go on this complete reset of the body and mind, and no races or maybe a hike here and there. And then what we saw over the weekend was him signing up last minute to the Manila Marathon, which is held at 10 p.m. in the evening, and winning the bloody event in 2 hours 53. So much for taking things easy, so much for resetting the body and mind, calling out head chef for suspicious behavior whilst on holiday. So we look forward to seeing you back, mate. But you definitely need to explain yourself why running a marathon on your holiday is acceptable behavior. So I think that's it for us in this episode. So our socials, looking at the Strava group, ever since the controversy that we sparked this week, it seems like our membership is sitting at 726 in the Strava group. And our Instagram followers are just creeping up slowly to 919. So thank you for sticking around. Thank you for the banter that we've experienced this week. We really appreciate it. Our Instagram is WA Running Pod. Our email address is warunningpod@outlook.com. And our Strava group is Warp. And I think that's it for us. So thanks for sticking around to the end. And we'll catch you, if not this Friday, we'll catch you next week. See ya.
See you guys.